Hey guys, it's Robin, RsIslandCrafts. Welcome to my craft room. You guys ready for another episode of WIP It Wednesday? To see what I've been working on in my craft week each week, whether it's just a little bit of progress, I've started something new, or I've actually worked long enough to finish a project. This is not going to be a week of finishes. If you watched my Talk to Me Tuesday video yesterday, you know I've spent a good part of the week at the cancer center. I don't want to say like dealing with the cancer stuff, but that's basically what you have to do. You have to deal with it. It becomes a big part of your life. We spent at least 5 hours on Thursday doing paperwork, talking to doctors, sitting and waiting, and getting some fluids into my poor husband, Rob. Had to go back on Friday. They got him into a clinical trial, and he's going to be testing not a new medicine, but a medicine that's already on the market that they're going to test to see how it works with pancreatic masses. Their goal is, since he has a large tumor growing out of the neck of his pancreas and it is spread to his liver and his lungs, their goal is to get rid of the lesions that are in his liver and his lungs and to shrink the tumor in his pancreas. And that they're hoping that the regular chemo drugs should take care of, this is what I consider the liver and the lungs, because they're over here. And then this new chemo treatment. Now, these chemo drugs will also work a little bit on the tumor, but they're hoping that this new one will really zap into it and help shrink that tumor. Ultimately, when it comes down to it, there's not going to be a cure, unfortunately, for this cancer. It's more of let's shrink everything down to the best we can to make you comfortable so that you can live your life for as long as you possibly can in the best way that you can. So what all that means is I didn't get as much crafting time as I usually would, because there's a lot of, I tell you, this cancer place is great. They have everything you need there. You can do all your things, almost all your things. You still have to go to a hospital for surgeries and stuff. But they do just about everything they possibly can in that one building. They called us 5 times to verify his appointment. So Wednesday we spent a lot of time fielding phone calls. And you know, when you go to a new doctor for anything, there's always a lot of phone calls and insurance and paperwork and yada yada yada, you know. So that's where my week was. I did get some travel projects done. I didn't get a lot of sewing done, but I've decided that no matter what happens during the week, I'm going to spend at least a little bit of the time doing some type of sewing, because that's what I want to do this year. I want to get a lot of, if I'm going to do 50 charity projects and a good portion of them are going to be baby quilts, I kind of need the sewing machine. Now I can sew them by hand, but that does take a while, you know? And until I get a little bit faster, I will be doing a hand sewn quilt this year where I'm going to sew it all together by hand and I'm going to quilt it by hand. The only thing I'll probably use for the sewing machine is to attach the binding before you flip it over and hand sew the back. I'm not sure if I can. I would imagine back in the day they had to have. I don't know if they used binding. Maybe if I do the back and bring it to the front, then I won't need to use the sewing machine for any of it. That's a good idea. So you guys are always so good. I can just bounce ideas off of you. But anyways, let's get to what happened this week. I am going to show you some knitting. I'm going to show you some sewing. And I'm going to show you some embroidery. So I just talked for like 20 minutes, but I hadn't never hit the record button. I had to pause it for a second because I heard some noises out in the hallway. Yeah, it's really windy out right now, and I heard some weird rattling noise, and I couldn't figure out what it was in the hallway, so I went to check. Then I came back in, and I started talking to you guys, and I never hit the play button. So, I'm going to show you the postcards again. Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Did I tell you that I received these postcards from a subscriber who had gone on a trip about 20 years ago? And she said, hey, Robin, you know, I got these postcards. I don't really need them anymore. Since you're collecting them, would you like them? And I said, yes, please. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And it took a little while to get through the holiday mail and for me to actually get to my post office. But I did receive them. I have a nice little stack here. Thank you so much. I really appreciate them. We have the Gettysburg Address. This is also in... This is the Gettysburg National Military Park. This is the New York Infantry of the Irish Brigade Monument. These postcards were actually printed in Ireland. And first I thought it was kind of weird that they're printed in Ireland. Then I saw that this was from the Irish Brigade. And this memorial pays tribute to the Irish Brigade of the New York Infantry who fought in the Great Conflict. So that explains why they were printed in Ireland. Nice sunset with the cannon. He looks like not just a soldier, that he is It just says some of the hardest fighting developed around this point. From its summit, you overlook the Devil's Den, the Valley of Death, the wheat field, and the peach orchard. Orchard. So, but he looks like he's more of a colonel, general, lieutenant something versus a regular infantryman. Gettysburg at sunset. Then we go to New York and we see the Washington, D.C. We're at the White House. The Washington Monument with the reflection. Now, doesn't that look like a pencil? Let me put it right there. Doesn't it look like the tip of a pencil? Like, this is the brown part and this is the white. I have a quilter's pencil that looks just like this. That's why it makes me think of it. But I love the reflection of anything in a pond like that. Pop up to New York City. Times Square. I like this description. Crossroads of the world. Live theaters, cinemas, bistros, restaurants, cafes, and shops combine to create a kaleidoscope of color and motion. If you guys have seen it for New Year's Eve when the ball drops or any other thing that's going on there with the ticker tape parade things they have, that place is really a definite kaleidoscope of color and motion. That is a crazy place to be when it's crowded. This is Lower Manhattan with the Brooklyn Bridge and East River. Being out on any of the water to see any of these, this one is Roosevelt Island right here. To see this out on the water and looking towards the city to see all those bright lights has got to be spectacular. Now this is the place where I want to go, Niagara Falls. To hear the rushing of the waterfall. I love waterfalls, no matter big ones, little ones, anything in between. Now I know that we can't go behind it, but I don't think we can. They may have tours, I don't know, I've never been there. But I know workers can go behind the waterfalls and look out. You could really feel the power and hear the rushing of it. And it's something like, I'm just going to make up a number, but they say it's like 20 degrees cooler when you go behind the waterfall or something like that. This one is the Canadian Horseshoe Falls at Niagara Falls. So this fall is in the shape of a horseshoe. So we're still at the Horseshoe Falls, but now it's wintertime. Shuffle on over to Buffalo. I think that's an old-timey song. Buffalo Bills, because it's got all the right colors and stuff. And this is New York. Binghamton, New York. This is where the Mets played. I don't know if they're still there because I don't follow baseball. All I know is the family team is the New York Yankees, and you can't like the Red Sox no matter what because they're evil. You know, I guess it's that big rivalry between the Yankees and the Red Sox. A nice carousel. I was saying before when I was talking to myself and not recording versus talking to myself and letting you guys hear it later, that as a young child, I was really scared of the carousel horses. I thought they would just kind of like keep going and just go right off the carousel. Big things like this are scary for little kids. This one just says, oh, the Chenango and Susquehanna rivers. Because there's a lot of Indian names of things when you're up in New York. Here's one of those fun postcards that it just has a little bit of everything so you could see what is everywhere. Catskill Mountains, we used to go there a lot. We actually had a place, let me see, here's Cooperstown, New York, in Oneonta. We actually had it was considered a farm, but we didn't farm it. My grandparents owned this big piece of property. It was like 72 acres, and there was a hunting cabin on it, but we actually lived in it during the summer with a big pole barn and stuff. We ride motorcycles, and I was such a tomboy. I'd have snakes in my pocket. We'd eat wild strawberries off the ground. So we lived in this country town, somewhere in this general area in upstate New York. It was great. Syracuse. Here's the Niagara Falls over there, and Buffalo. Jamestown, you'd go there a lot of times for school field trips and stuff like that. Poughkeepsie. Now, I lived in Connecticut, so we had to come from over here, and we drive. It was about a 4-hour drive to get to our place in New York. But that was my childhood. That was all my summers. If there was something that happened in my life, if it happened in the summer, it happened in New York. But this is what I fell in love with, these postcards from Holland. Here, let me flip these over because they're so shiny. You got your Are these some type of a biscuit or cookie or something? I mean, they have a waffle texture, but I don't think they're waffles. And then you got the Gouda cheese, and you got the clogs, the wooden shoes. And these just look like the buildings, but they look like they're almost salt shakers, or if you'd put some type of a vinegar in it or something maybe, or cologne. There's some more shoes where you could plant flowers in. We had a pair of wooden shoes when I was growing up. I'm not sure how far they got passed down in the family, if it was something my grandparents got or it was something passed to them. But I used to wear them all the time when we weren't supposed to. We were supposed to leave them alone because I guess they were really old and they had a couple cracks in the wood. And my grandparents didn't want them to get ruined. I don't even know where they are to this date, to be honest with you. And then tulips, one of my favorite flowers, in the basket of a bicycle. And then there's this canal or river there. These postcards don't actually say where it's at. So if the person that sent this, if this is a popular canal or river, maybe you can let us know down in the comments. But I just love the colors, the pinks on these tulips. And if you like tulips, wait till you see this one. Look at this. Rows and rows and rows and straight here. And then these curves. See how tightly packed these tulips are? There's just millions of them, and look at how gorgeous they are. And then the lady that sent these to me, she said this is definitely how they grow them. This is not just for fancy pictures or anything. And then there's a windmill. It's beautiful. And it was great because I got it on a nice blue sky with the clouds. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much. I think I'm going to get an album to put the postcards in so I can flip through them page by page. I do not have a finish this week, but I do have a finished quilt top. If you watched my Talk to Me Tuesday, you've seen this where I held it up and showed all fancy. This is what it looks like. But this is my monster strip. I did like a jelly roll race variation. If you guys are interested, I'll go ahead and record a video for you so that you can see how I made this. This is one of those ones that is really, really quick. It goes together so fast. Once you have everything cut, I did this just in a few hours on Saturday afternoon. I pretty much made this entire thing while watching the Mom and Pop live stream. So it goes together really quick. I had all my strips cut and I was stitching these squares on while watching the video, the live stream. And then I sewed it all together. So I think start to finish you can make this quilt top in 5 hours or less. It's just a baby size, so it went together really quick. I love how fun and bright these monster colors are, and I like these crazy stripes that just really pop out now with all the yellows and greens and blues. I have enough strips cut. Like I said, if you'd like to see me do another video, I have some with the green already attached. I have more squares waiting to be attached and plenty of strips to make another quilt. So then it'll be like a twinsy quilt. It won't be the same, but it'll be the same. And if you give it to two twins, they're going to know which is which, even if they look the same to us, right? When twins are still little, they like to have matchy-matchy stuff. It's usually until after the age of maybe 10 or 12, and definitely when they're in high school. Most sets of twins, triplets, and quadruplets like to find their own identity, and they start to dress differently. But when they're in like kindergarten and first grade and younger, they love to dress like their brothers or sisters. Or at least that's what I've seen from the different YouTube videos I watch that has multiple family, they have multiples of children within the family, like twins and quads and stuff. I worked on my snowman some. As you can see, I didn't follow my normal rule where I like to finish a strand. It's just the week got away from me. But this was one of the projects I worked on just for a few minutes here and there at night before bed. I had just about all of this done. What I did is I put the bird on the birdhouse. I think I might have just finished a little bit on the actual birdhouse, but then I started working on the tree branch that goes down and his arm. Give you a little closer look of that. So all of this is new down here, and then Mr. Bird. I'll get him done eventually. He's got a cute little heart down there, and another bird in a little basket, a nest. I have baskets on the brain, and then just a bird wandering around. So I'll get this done. It's no rush for it. It'll get done when it gets done, right? And then I'll be able to enjoy it, and I better have it done for next winter, though, because I want to be able to put it up on my wall and enjoy it. Now, I did work a little bit on this shawl. Unfortunately, I'm very seldom able to get a whole row done now. I'm just knitting on it as I can. So it's all tangled up. but you've seen it all opened up already. You know what it looks like. I put about 6 rows on, just about an inch, inch and a half. It's going to be a lot of the same. It's going to look just like this for 64 more rows until I start to do the fancy stuff. There's not much exciting things to see here, but it is making progress little by little. You can start to see it's got this nice little soft fuzzy halo to it. And once again, that's another project. I'll get it done as I get it done, as time allows, right? I'll just keep plugging away a little bit by little bit on each project, and then they'll be doing good. Now inside here, I got the bonbon hat. I have put a few rows onto this. I'm to the point where, now the pattern says that I should start decreasing, but I'm using a smaller size needle than the pattern calls for, while the hat, if it says use a size 6 needle and you'll get a 22-inch hat, I can actually use a size 4 or 5 needle and get a 22-inch hat. So that means it's fine this way, but I do have to knit on it a little extra this way before I start decreasing it. Plus, hats like this are easy. If you want to slouch your hat, you just do this pattern a little longer. If you want it to be form-fitting and just go from your ears to the top of your head, then you make your pattern a little bit shorter. So I'm at to the point where I have to measure it and decide how many more rows I need to do before I start decreasing to get it to be the length I want it to be. None of these projects so far have been anything I've taken with me when I've gone to appointments with Rob. For that, I started a whole other project. Now, in one of the projects that's on my list of things to get done, and it looks like I'm in the middle of a row again, because when the doctors walk in or you're all done and you're ready to go home, you can't say, oh wait, let me just sit here and finish a row. This hat is the Barley Hat by Tin Can Knits. It's a free pattern. I probably showed it to you, possibly. I don't think I showed it to you, but I'd started on it, and I worked on this much between Thursday and Friday with sitting with Rob at the cancer center while he was getting his IV, and it's because, you know, he was so dehydrated and everything. So I did get quite a bit accomplished, because this is like knitting with the same yarn. I'm using size 2 needles, and when I knit socks for Robbie, I knit them on size like 1, 1.5. So this is still really thin yarn, even though it's 2 pieces that I'm holding together. It's really, really thin, and it's going to be like the cowl. It's going to take a little bit of time to work on, but ultimately it's going to get done, and it's going to look really good. And it'll be a matching set, and when I'm done with this, I'm going to go ahead and make some fingerless mitts. Those are those gloves that don't go over your fingers, so that your fingers and thumbs are all free to do whatever you need to, driving, using your cell phone, whatever. So yes, this has got this extra little detail here. It's got a reverse stockinette, so you get these ridges, and then the rest of it is just standard stockinette, so you have all these straight flat stitches like this. So this has been a fun project to work on. As you see, normally with a hat, at the amount of time that I sat with Rob, if I had worked on a hat for 10 hours, 5 hours on Thursday and 5 hours on Friday, I'd have gotten a lot done, if not all of it. But I didn't get to work on it the whole time. I maybe worked on it for 2 or 3 hours on one day, and maybe an hour and a half the next day. So I'm really happy with the progress I got in the time that I was able to spend on it. And I'm keeping it in my favorite bag. This is a drawstring bag that I made years ago for Halloween, as you can see. And it's just a great size to put hats in. And I just love how soft the fabric has become because I've used it so much. I use the drawstrings as a little handle. I do have 2 balls of yarn in there, so it does take up a bit of space. But still, it's this nice little short, compact little bag. He's my favorite. So 5 projects, that's what I worked on this week, and I'm really happy with it. I think I've made tremendous progress on all of them, and I'm not upset at all. So now, have you guys gotten any progress on anything this week? Or was there that one project that you really wanted to work on, but you could just never quite get to it this past week? Sometimes I have those weeks. Sometimes I'm like, I'm going to put tremendous progress on my snowman, and the time just goes by, and sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. And that's okay, because I've always got next week, right? Speaking of next week, I'll see you then. Bye!